Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's a hot one today. Just be honest, we're in the middle of summer and it is a scorcher today. Yeah.
I have almost all the shades at the house shut and just trying to keep as much heat out and as much cool in as possible, because it's definitely it's a good one out there.
It is. I came straight from the pool, I'll be honest.
That's awesome. I came straight from work.
Even more awesome.
So I have a question for you, Kim.
Okay.
A few months ago, maybe a month ago, sometimes I lose track of time on how many episodes we record. We talked about Kim is fun and you working on finding this, on finding your the fun part of you again. And I'm curious how that has felt, especially like this summer, there's more things going on. Have you been aware of okay, I'm thinking about this, or has it been absent-minded? How's it been going?
I have been thinking about it. And I think I'm super fun in the pool. I grew up swimming and loving the pool. Not like competitively swimming, very recreationally swimming. And I still love it. And so my daughter and I have been doing a lot of fun things off of the diving board and those kinds of things. So that feels like fun. Last week, I went and learned how to play pickleball, which I did not want to do. I didn't want to go. I was dragging my feet the whole time. Somebody was like, "Are you coming?" I was like, "No." And then they let it slip. They kind of planned it around me. And then I was like, dang it, I have to go. And then I went and I had so much fun.
It's pretty fun, huh?
It's very fun. And I didn't expect to have so much fun. And it was really hot. And we were doing this outside. And I don't know, it was probably 2 hours out there, but it was a lot of fun. I would absolutely play again.
Did you go to a specific court, or did you go to the local restaurant?
We went to a court. So it's a city park owned, big complex of tennis courts and pickleball courts. Nice. And they were actually really nice. I used to play tennis with my son when he was little, and the courts weren't so nice around town, but these were really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not played pickleball there. There's a restaurant called Chicken and Pickle where you can go and you can get mostly chicken-based items, but all sorts of food, and play pickleball. So I've played there, but I have not played on any of the other courts. I don't have my own stuff, so
I don't either. I have chickened, but I have not pickled there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was curious, how much in your mind, that has been there and how that's been feeling. And part of the reason is from an outside perspective, just talking with you this summer, you went to a concert, you're always.
Yeah, I went to a concert and saw somebody that I really have loved for years and years.
Yeah. And you're always at the pool or a friend's house. And so I've wondered, do you feel like those things always would have happened, or was any of that part of the Kim is fun?
Some of it is definitely more intentional. I'll tell you, the pickleball was not. Because again, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Because I'm still resisting it. I'll tell you that most of me is still resisting, but I'm trying to actively push those boundaries within myself, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm making some progress. I have a friend, I guess we have a mutual friend who had seen something about Kim is fun or whatever. I don't know. And she was like, anything you want to do, let's go do it. Like, you want to go skating? You want to do these things? Just call me and we'll go. And we've had lots of conversations about it since then. And every time we get together, we kind of give some updates. And she's kind of rediscovering fun too.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of been nice to have like just somebody who's interested in that journey because it's not horribly existential. I'll just like it's not really deep,
Right.
but it is something that I'm actively trying to do. And it's nice to have somebody who's remembering that and like encouraging and those kinds of things. And then you're checking up on it too.
Yeah. Um, did have you felt like it's gotten any more natural, or does it or does like or did pickleball like still like you said that felt forced and like intentional, but in general is it feeling more natural, or is it still feeling um like there's parts of it that are way more forced?
There are parts of it that are still very forced. So I think the part that isn't forced is the willingness to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, like going to see a concert when I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm out of that era, but it's somebody that I've liked for a long time and I like his music and a local
Yeah.
artist was opening and I was like, yes, let's do that. So that felt like I really wanted to do that. But then while I was there, then I had to also try to consciously have fun while I was there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, let me find a wall and hug it and just,
Yeah.
I'll just sit and listen when really, if you get me like very unfiltered, I would want to dance and I would want to sing along and yeah, and then the unfun part wants to like filter that down. So
Yeah.
yes, there's
Yeah.
still conflict.
Yeah, so part of the reason I'm asking this is I was having a conversation with Bree the other day about the importance of laughter when you are making new neural pathways, like when you're creating new ways of living, um, because it it like helps your brain come out of the natural pathway. So if you're like at the concert and you're like, okay, I sort of want to like let loose and not care and dance and sing. But I've developed this like, no, this is who I am. I'm just gonna stand here and I'm gonna enjoy it, but it's not gonna be like fully the enjoyment. Um, if you can in that moment like bring laughter, especially to the idea, but just to the situation. I feel like it diffuses it in a way where it's like, yeah, that's kind of silly. Why would I not just like be free?
Right.
Um, and so I was curious how like an update on if it was feeling easier and if you were feeling more fun, because we were just having this conversation about like laughter, especially when you don't feel like the laughter, but like being able to access that and bring it into the situation, um, can I think it can open the ability to like something new to pop in.
Sure. No, I think that's good. Who was I talking to last week? Something similar about, oh, I know what it was. It had to do with constantly building new neural pathways. And we've talked about this on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
And um, kind of the concept or idea that part of being able to live forever, much longer than what people are currently living to now. And having that kind of deathless living, I suppose, has to do with renewing your mind, like keeping it flexible, keeping it malleable, keeping it so that it's constantly forging new paths so that it doesn't get so tight and restricted that there's no longer way to move or grow. And I was talking to someone just this weekend about the use of psychedelics, actually, and how what some of it does, especially with microdosing, it just like kind of opens up newness. And I was asking the question, and I don't have the answer, and they didn't have the answer either. I was like, well, do you think this would help with people being able to live longer? Because it's continually bringing you into something new that you wouldn't like forge your way into effortlessly otherwise.
Yeah. I think when I think of like aging, there's kind of two main things that I think about. One of them is mobility, um, especially especially rotational mobility. So if you walk like a young person walk, like there's a bit of a swagger, there's a bit of a sway. And if you watch an older person walk, it's a very closed off, very straight, rigid movement. And so like um, keeping that flexibility, keeping that mobility is a big part of I think renewing your mind, of staying young. But the other part of it, the mind part of it, is I heard someone say like learning is a huge piece of aging, because when we stop learning, our brain starts to solidify what has been there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we solidify what has been there, in that, like, okay, I'm not learning anything anymore, then like you get the people who are like you have conversations like, oh, they're stuck in their ways. Like you just get so systemized that your brain's like, okay, we know how to do this. This is exactly what we do. And so like, you know, we've had episodes where we've talked about like brush your teeth with your other hand. Like take, if you always drive one way to work, take a different road. Um, and that like can be an easy way um, to help do that. And I don't have the scientific knowledge on psychedelics, but I know that they're doing a lot of research and testing on treating it for like PTSD, which is like that's a big piece of like being stuck in a pattern. You're stuck in a pattern you don't want to be in, and it's making you relive something that was really horrible.
Right.
And so like I know that there's people who are looking into using psilocybin and some other things to treat those things. And I think it's really fascinating, and like something I'm curious to see where the science goes with some of it.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know what? I need to reach out. I met this woman at a conference in January, who also calls herself a mystic Christian, which in and of itself, this was not like a Christian conference. It's just funny to find those people, because it's like, oh my gosh, you're a mystic too. Oh my gosh, me too. We need to talk really quietly because the others might not be okay with this, right? But she calls herself Mushroom Barbie, and she grows mushrooms and has done a lot of studying. Like, she's a botanist by trade, has done a lot of studying into the effects of them and what it can do to benefit the human condition, essentially. And I might just need to reach out to her and see if she wants to come on. We talked about it before, and then I never reached out to her.
Yeah, I remember you bringing her up before.
I know. So maybe now's the time, because I would be interested to just hear I don't know, just learn about it. Like, I don't know anything. I don't have experience with it. I honestly don't know much of anything except what, I mean, it's very limited at this point. And I think it's been so hush hush. Like, even if people know about it, it hadn't been talked about for a long time.
Right.
And right now it just happens to be emerging again. I think even in kind of normal psychological treatment, it's becoming more and more prevalent. Um, so I'd be curious to, I don't know, just learn more about it. Like, here, is this something that actually is natural to the earth that can help with some of like mental longevity,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be a really fascinating thing. I do think like neuroplasticity, like being able to change your mind, is definitely a sign of aging. And so, or a
Right.
sign of
Youth.
at least a youthful mind,
Yeah.
like because there's like, I've heard people ask the question like, would you rather live to be, 200 years old, um and mentally be a 10-year-old but physically have like a 20-year-old's body, or would you rather live to that age and not be able to use your body but have the mind of a 20-year-old? And it's such an interesting thing because we do associate both of those things with aging, and for some reason generally not at the same time. Like generally one of them goes before the other. And I think what we are pursuing with our goals with extremely long life is um like health in both, like not just longevity but also like healthgevity. Like I want to be like vitality, I guess. Like
Yeah.
I want to
That's
be
a good word.
alive as I'm growing.
Right. Yeah. I think that's really good. And really think there's something in that of not getting stuck in your ways. And
Mm.
I'm just going to bring up something like very current that I'm thinking of with this. So this past weekend, there was like the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at his rally. And first of all, I have to tell you, I was like wildly emotional about it. And I am so far out of politics, like I kind of want nothing to do with it. Um, so I'm not like super Trump fan. I'm not super Biden fan. I'm kind of super non-politic fan. Like I just want to be rid of all of politics. But I found myself really emotional about it. Like this is what it's come to, and I I don't know. I was just really kind of mourning the state of our society at this point for a
Yeah.
second. But anyway, okay. So um with that, I think then you see social media. Of course, everyone is going to have an opinion on it. Everybody wants to say something, which I guess I'm doing now too. Um, but people who are like super polarized one way or the other, both ways. I saw it from both sides, by the way,
Yeah.
are like so stuck in the bias that they have that they can't even like pull back and see the humanity of this situation for a moment. And that is the saddest state I have seen in this country. Like that's that's what I'm mourning with all of that. This is why I'm sad. It's because people can't like even put aside political differences to come to the core of a humanitarian, like just a one core thing and say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right. Somebody's life shouldn't just be taken because he's running for president. Ooh. And that is the hardest part for me. And it's just like, it's big situations like that that really make me go, we do need to change. Like people are getting so stuck that it's going to be hard to get out of those ruts. You know what I mean? And I really, really hope that I'm not one of those people in some other situation, some other scenario. I don't know, but I don't want to get to the point where I can't pull back and look from a different perspective and be convinced of something else, or take on another point of view and actually consider it.
Yeah.
That seems like a tangent. I know it seems like a tangent, but there's some being stuck in the ways there that,
yeah, it connects. And I think because I definitely witnessed that as well, like both sides um being very polarized to um either this was really, yeah, just generally not being kind, or like to either side, both sides not being super nice to other sides when we're talking
right,
about the life of a human,
right.
which is valuable no matter who they are and what they believe and what their political stance is. Um, and I do think that that speaks to like this ability to change your mind, this ability to be flexible. Um, there's a um, there's a story I heard of someone who was, I think, a senator. Um, I'm pretty sure might have been a representative, but one of those two.
Member of
And
Congress.
yes, they were a member of Congress, and they had, maybe we've talked about this too, but they had seen um, someone from the other party like in the gym that morning having a really great workout. And so they just went up to them one day and they were like, or later that day, they went up to them inside of Congress and they were like, "Hey, saw you really getting after it this morning. That's great." And they got, like, that was the extent of the conversation. Um, and they got reprimanded by the people who lead their party for engaging with someone from the other party, and they were like, "Whoa, what are you like? What are you talking about?" And they were like dead serious, like, "This is a big deal. Like, you can't do this." Um, and I think that's so disheartening. And seeing the coverage on um, like the attempted murder of a former president, like, is disheartening. But also there's part of me that, like, I have this hope that um I don't think it's actually that hard to change where we are. I
Hmm.
don't think it will actually take that much to change where we are. um and I think, like, especially as I look at like younger generations who have a different opinion on politics, and they have a different opinion on um, the world and economics. Like, um, I think that there is an ability here to, one, like, sort of rattle people. Like, I think the big sickness that was rampant in the world in 2020 that people experienced was an opportunity for people to, like, it shook up beliefs, it shook up opinions. And I think that where we're at in the world with politics right now, like, is kind of doing the same thing. Like, it's kind of opening this door to people to be like, this isn't work, like, this is not what we want, this isn't what we're sold on, it's not what we want it to be. And I don't think it actually takes that long to change it. And we've talked about this many times before, but like, my personal belief is that government adjusts to what we to how we live our life. And so if we started taking responsibility for our life, then government would shift to adjust to that. I think the market in like economics would do the same thing. But I think all of that ties into like this conversation of, like, even of laughing. Like, can you look at not the attempted murder, but can you look at the politics and be like, this is crazy. What are we doing? And, or do you look at it and you're like, immediately you get locked into a thought process? And so, like, tying this clear back to the beginning, like being able to look at it and have a laugh and be like, this isn't what we want. This is not okay. And like, I think enough people doing that will quickly change the trajectory of where we are.
I think you're right. And maybe this is, I don't know, we've been talking about this awakening that's been happening. And I've seen it start since like 2020, like kind of in the masses. But I wonder if this whole situation is something that is just another shakeup that's getting people to kind of wake up to the state of how things have been. Because I've also heard, I just have to also say this, I've heard a big population who were polarized a week ago coming in and saying, we can't do this anymore. We've got to take responsibility for the things we're saying. We've got to take responsibility for how we treat other people. Regardless of what your position is politically, you've got to respect humanity, like
Right.
the human state. And I am overjoyed with that, because it feels like people are starting to see, like, oh my gosh, people are seeing that this is happening, when otherwise it's kind of been a bit, it seemed like some blindness a little bit. And so I am encouraged by that. But I also think that shows that state of being flexible. Like, if something happens, can you react? I'm thinking about pickleball. So I was playing pickleball, like, the ball comes at you, you got to move, right? If it comes back quickly, you got to get to the other side of the court. Like, sometimes you have to react quickly. But can you do it? Do you still have the agility to be able to do it? Because are you still keeping both your mind and your body in a place where it's able to be mobile and able to be flexible and agile? And I think it's an important thing now.
I think more than ever, I mean, I think it's always been an important thing, but I think as we just continue down the road, it's very important for society to start to change their minds about some things, or at least not get stuck. I don't even care if you end up winding back at the same thought process, but like,
go up the mountain. Please.
Yeah, go up the mountain, change your mind, be able to see it from a different perspective. And if you end up coming back down with the same, like, no, that's what I thought and that's where I'm staying, like, great. That's a huge improvement over just not moving from one thought process ever.
Yeah. Agreed. Interesting conversation today, Joshua.
It was. We covered a lot of ground by talking about laughing to change your mind.
From fun to mourning, it was all in there.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay, well, thanks for being on this journey.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. Okay, we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.